Hi, everyone. You know, when we see what Jesus was teaching about humble spirit, about hunger and thirst after righteousness, about the pure heart that he talked about in the Sermon on the Mount, he really gets down to the nitty gritty after he speaks the Sermon on the Mount. I mean, the Sermon on the Mount gave you a great picture about what we should do, or not what we should do, but what it looks like to be following the Lord and how our attitudes should be different and how our actions should be different. But it's in Matthew 16 where we really see him just take it to the max, take it to the limit. Watch what he says in Matthew 16 and verse 24. If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul, or what shall a man give in return for his soul? The Lord is just being so upfront about the fact if you're going to follow me, make it real. If you're going to say you believe in me, make it happen. Don't be worried about all the things you got planned and what things you think are important. Let me guide you. Let me be the one to give you the right path. Now, a lot of people take this as being, well, I really wanted to be a soccer player. I love soccer. I'm a Christian now. I can't do it. Why? Well, because I'm following Christ now. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. It is a good idea to ask him first. But if you have a burning love for soccer, unless God takes that away from you, it's going to stay there. You love soccer. I think it's funny because when I teach students, I sometimes teach them about writing. And what's interesting is you'll have a young man who'll sit there and he can't just, I say, come on now, put an idea down. He'll write a sentence. I said, great. That's good. You got an idea down. And I say to him, let me guess. You don't like to write, do you? No, I don't like to write. I said to him, this one student, I said, I'll bet when you're on a basketball court, you're bouncing that ball around and shooting hoops, aren't you? He goes, yep, I sure am. You see, his love is basketball. It's not writing. That's the way he is. Now, for us, we are made the way we're made. And I like to use the example. If you could build a semi-truck, if you had a company to build semi-truck, that semi-truck will not be used for the same purposes as a tiny little small car. They're not the same. They're not for the same thing. Some people think that if they're a small car, they got to become a semi. And I just don't see that as God's way of doing things. What I do see is God saying, okay, I want you to turn to me. And I want you to say, Lord, what is it you want me to do? You see, denying self means that you don't worry so much of the 50 things you want to get done as you're more concerned about, okay, God, what's important to you? Some commentators have suggested that it's about others. It's thinking of others first. It's doing for others first. It's about the people around you, other people you know, helping them out first. Forget about your own interests. And that may be a good example, a good comparison. But the focus, though, is on Jesus. The focus is on thy will be done. The focus is on following him, denying what you want, all the selfish interests you have, and just focusing on the Son of God. Now, does that mean you won't be able to play polo like you want to? No, not. I mean, most likely you'll be okay. Or does that mean that, man, I always liked aviation, I can't like aviation anymore? No, that's not what it says. It simply means the Lord is your priority. You're not worried about the other things. You want to make sure he's okay with it first. And watch what it says right here. It's interesting because it goes on to say, for whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. In other words, if you put all of what things in front of you as more important, your world, your thing, the things you like, well, guess what? He said, for whoever would save his life will lose it. If you think that's more important, you're just lost everything. But if you put it away and consider God's way is more important, then you just gained it all. Now watch what happens next, even in the next verse, which is even more fascinating. For what, in number 26, for what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? Or what shall a man give in return for his soul? This is about the person. This is about your soul. Giving your soul to God means you're surrendering your soul to Him for eternity. You're saying, I surrender all. And the fact is, folks, that does guarantee you eternity with Jesus. Where if you say, nope, I'm not giving my soul is my own, I'm doing my own thing, then there's a very good chance you won't be with Jesus. And we don't want to talk about where you'd be going if otherwise. But here's the thing. If you're following Christ, this soul of yours is who you are. It's your being. It's your whole self. That needs to be in God's hands. That needs to belong to the Lord. The more you believe in Jesus, the more you turn to Jesus, the more you are going to recognize and realize that God has something special for you. Now, I know earlier I said I wasn't going to talk about it, but I'm going to say it. If you reject Jesus, you do go to hell. I'm sorry to tell you that, but that's the truth. But if your heart and soul is set on following God and surrendering to Him, you got Him for an eternity, and you get to see Him work in your life. You get to see Him bless. You get to see Him minister through you. You get to see so many things, all because it's not about you, it's about Jesus. It's not about your list of priorities, it's about God's list. It's not about what you want, it's about what God wants. And the ironic thing is, most likely you're going to get a lot of what you want anyway, because God has made you a certain way, and He's not trying to make you into something you're not. He's not that way. But at the same time, denying self means the priority now that you're a believer is Jesus. The priority of your life is the Lord. And that is what we should be looking at. Friends, thank you for watching. We are the Knolls Baptist Church on YouTube. God bless.